In this video, I will discuss the imaginary number I that is used in mathematics and what it can show about the limits of understanding. In the second part of discussing the number I, the imaginary number, I will show the connection with the imaginary number, the I think, and how that explains what consciousness is. The mere fact that the imaginary number is used in mathematics shows that consciousness, awareness, cannot be reduced to matter if by matter you mean something dead and not alive. In discussing consciousness, I will refer to both René Descartes and Immanuel Kant, the founding fathers of modern thought and science, but I refer in a way to them that I open part of their essential meaning that was even hidden for Kant. It is, however, not necessary to understand my argument to have read their works. After this video, you can go to the next video. For to define the imaginary number is just a step into the real argument about consciousness. If someone asked me whether I believed in the existence of God or not, I used to joke and say that he does not exist, for he created all things. All that exists, so he can't exist. God does not exist in a material way, I meant, and neither do you. The immaterial has many layers, and only in contrast with the material, the immaterial seems to be one thing. In this short video blog, I want to show that even if you do not think in terms of immaterial angels, souls, etc., one can still talk about these concepts in a meaningful way. One might think that these ideas, the idea of an angel for example, are ideas that define human finitude, in contrast with something infinite, but that angels really do not exist. I would definitely agree that angels do not exist. In the same way, I believe God does not exist in any material way. Talking meaningful about meaningless ideas is like the number I, the imaginary number that mathematicians use in solving mathematical problems to prove mathematical assertions. When we square I, we get -1, which is not meaningful, for even if we square a negative number like -9, it should have a positive outcome, namely 81. So what can be squared having a negative outcome? Nothing, and at least not a number. The imaginary number is a nothing, not a material, imaginable number. Yet we can calculate with this numberless number, so it is something, for it has a positive effect in mathematical proofs. This imaginary number, this contradiction, shows the limits of our understanding. Geniuses reach the limits of understanding, yet the spiritual person can go beyond understanding and know strange things that may help you or destroy you without being able to understand them. The spiritual person does not understand them in understanding and can only express the knowledge of acting by poetry and myth that have a rationality and understanding higher than that of mathematics. And really, of course, it is not understanding in the way we normally mean when we talk about understanding. For a logical, angular person who is not around human, reality must be logical. Angular persons like scientific truth, not realizing that science or what science studies is not logical. In quantum mechanics, light can be a material part or an energetic wave of potentiality. That is, qua potentiality, an actual potentiality, so the wave is material in that sense. It's energetic, and energy is not something immaterial. So the same light is or has contradictory qualities. Science is based on mathematics, and mathematics is not logical. Mathematicians can even calculate by the means of contradictions, make a detour in order to arrive at the right logical destination, that is proving a mathematical thesis. The number I stands for the imaginary number. That is a number that if you square it by itself, you will get -1, which is logically impossible. We can't imagine how that could come about. However, if we reflect on this mathematical practice by binary logic, we can discover that with the logical, this finite understanding, when it is fed with the right light, the right axioms, one can think till within the fifth dimension, and the sixth dimension being the limit of understanding. So, if I is squared by itself and the result is -1, then we can assert the following. I times I squared to itself is I minus 1, meaning I to the power of 3 is minus I. I times the power of 3 is I times minus I. So I to the power of 4 should be 1. I say should be 1 because I times I is -1. Ergo, I times minus I should be 1. Okay, we continue. I times the power times I to the power of 4 is thus I times 1. So I till the power of 5 is I. That means I is beyond or ahead of itself. I is being defined by itself. I is I to the power of 5. When we continue multiplying I to the power of 5 with I, we'll get I times I. So I to the power of 6 is -1. We have given a circular definition of I, defining I by itself as I to the power of 5. Actually, we have said, in that sense, 1 is identical with 5, which is logically not possible and a contradiction, because logic comes from space and is spatial. So if you have an object with a certain volume and another object that has a volume 5 times bigger, we do not say one volume and a smaller volume is identical with a bigger volume. So saying I is defined by I to the power of 5 is a contradiction and is a circular definition of I. We have shown how big the circle is. If one studies the circle, it is connected with the number 5, and that is the number of the pentagram, and thus of man, of understanding. We have proved that something is bigger than itself. If we say in logic A is bigger than A, that should be a better way to phrase a logical contradiction than to say A is not A or A is not identical to A. This imaginary number shows we are really ahead of ourselves and transcend ourselves, even within and as understanding. For to be able to use the imaginary number falls outside of understanding. Understanding will evolve, for that what presupposes understanding will evolve. How we can call that what precedes understanding will be shown in the next video. If you really like this video, share it with others and or donate and or become a member of this channel. Thank you very much for your kindness, it is much appreciated. You may also drop a note, and if possible, I will try to reply whether I'm alive or dead. Goodbye.